Welcome to the first episode of the WP Edge podcast series. I am Irfan Dossani. I am a partner here at Whitley Penn. I oversee our WP Edge Outsourced Accounting Solutions group, which we're going to talk about today. I also lead the firm's Innovation Council, and I graduated from Texas Christian University. Jake and Tim on this call are probably not going to like that, but it's a good, friendly rivalry we have got going on, and I'm looking forward to talking more about WPH Day.
Hey, I'm Jake Morris. Irfan, I won't hold that against you that you went to TCU. I went to Baylor. I'm a senior manager in WP Edge. I work in the Houston office. I started at Whitley Penn March 16th of last year, so I'm coming up on 1 year at the firm. I also am on our firm's PPP team and kind of CARES Act, all things stimulus related team to kind of help people out on that front as well.
I'm Tim Sims, and I'm going to hold it against both of you that you went to TCU and Baylor. I went to Texas A&M, so we represent Texas well. I've been doing outsourced accounting since 2004. Prior to that, was doing controllerships at different types of companies that led well into the outsourced accounting field, and I'm a senior manager here at Whitley Penn.
WP, of course, stands for Whitley Penn. We are an outsourced accounting solutions group. We represent about 10% of our firm revenue. We've about a little over 45 people in our group across all our offices, so Dallas, Plano, Fort Worth, Austin, Houston, and our newest acquisition in West Texas, so Midland, Odessa, and Hobbs, New Mexico. From a service perspective, from outsourced accounting, we do your typical bookkeeping, closing the books, payroll processing, accounts payable, accounts receivable, to all the way up to full back office outsourced accounting, where we manage your full accounting systems from start to finish. So think your accounts payable system, payroll, reporting, and where you could fully outsource the entire accounting department and all your needs there. So what is WP Edge? So WP Edge was a concerted effort on our part back in summer of 2018. We got together as a group and we looked at how we were operating in the outsourced accounting solution space. We were called Accounting Services Group back then, and the idea was how we can come together to operate as one. There was this big branding effort across Whitley Penn about the One Whitley Penn brand, and WP Edge was born out of that. The goal was, we looked at the industry, we looked at our service offerings across the accounting industry, and even there were lots of smaller firms that had popped up that were not part of the accounting industry that had started to dabble into this space, and we were really intrigued how they were scaling their service line. We looked at the top 50 firms in our space and interviewed several to understand what are some challenges that they were looking at. And what we found out were we were all solving for the same thing. It was about automation. It was about transition more to advisory-based services, getting out of transactional accounting, entering checks, bills, things like that. And to our benefit, what we discovered were that across our service line, we were already doing a lot of that anyway. It might have been Tim in Dallas doing it, or Jake in Houston doing it, but we were not coming together and all of us doing that. And that was the big underlying foundational reason why we wanted to launch WP Edge and come together, is to all do things one way. So we really looked at, what are some tools out there technology-wise on how we can come together and operate into a set of tools. We looked at vendor relationships. We looked at different accounting functions, and we chose the best of the breed as best as we could. And we started down the path of adopting a technology stack. And it's been a fun ride. It's been 2.5, almost 3 years now. We are now truly, I feel like the accounting services part of our title is eventually faded out in the background, and we're truly WP Edge, or the Outsourced Accounting Solutions Group. Our approach, and we'll talk more about that here in a bit, is really looking at solving for client pain points, right? So a lot of times a client comes to us and says, well, I just want to go ahead and have my accounts payable more streamlined. And what we go down the path on a lot of times is, well, what are your processes? And that leads to systems, and then that leads to people that they have operating those systems. And it really becomes a fun partnership opportunity for us to really look at and say, well, what is the best solution in that example for having your accounts payable pain point be alleviated? And a lot of times what we find out are, let's address the process, let's train the person on your end, let us provide you the technology that you need, and let us be a partner to help you get there. And what a client finds out, and what we find out through the process as well, is that it's not about serving the client in a way where you say, okay, well, let's do it all for you. That's not what we usually lead with. What we lead with is, how can we solve your pain? And a lot of times what we discover is that it's truly a team effort. It's not about WP Edge doing all of it on every situation. So you'll listen more of that as we share with you some success stories here. With that, I think, Jake, I'd love for you to talk about one of the client success stories that you've worked on recently.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to piggyback on what you were saying a little bit. So I think one of the benefits of outsourced accounting is that the small and mid-sized business owners that we work with, they get to spend all of their time and attention and efforts into running their business and working on operations, working on selling their product or their service, and take as much of the accounting off of their plate so they can work on that and grow their business and let us handle all that. And we obviously bring our experience and network and best practices to the table to help them streamline their accounting function to whatever degree they need. So kind of diving into a client success story that I had, I came to Whitley Penn with prior experience as an auditor for 6 years at a different public accounting firm, and then as a controller for 4 years after that before joining Whitley Penn. So using that experience, one of the first clients that I was working with had a bit of a mess in their accounting workflows. Their books were a bit messy. They needed to get closed and cleaned up because they needed an audit. So a lot of companies obviously have different reasons for needing an audit or review. One of the main reasons being if you have any debt with a bank and there being a covenant that you need an audit or review. So they needed an audit. Their financials were a bit messy. Some of their workflows were a bit disorganized. So they came to us to help out. Me being new, having experience as an auditor, I was able to jump in and look at their books and help them get cleaned up, get the year closed out, and get their books in more order to pass off to their external auditors to perform the audit. So the benefit to the company, obviously, is they saved fees on the audit, although having to interact with us and work with us on our fees, they saved all of the extra fees from having auditors to dig in and come back with all of these audit adjustments. So they had a clean financial package that was in better order to hand over to the auditors. So that was last year. And now we fast forward to this year. Same situation. Unfortunately, the books are a bit messy at the end of 2020. Now we're talking about doing the same thing, me going in and helping them get the books cleaned up. And in addition to cleaning the books up, now we're talking about assisting them on their workflows and their accounting going forward. I think one of the main differences being reactive on cleaning the books, coming to us after they realized their books needed some help getting them closed out. And now we're looking at a proactive approach where once we get the books cleaned up, now they want to talk to us and ask us for help in getting their workflows set up better, utilizing our services to help their monthly accounting and get everything in order so they don't next year have to come to us and say, hey guys, can you help us get these cleaned up again? So we're going to maintain that ongoing relationship throughout the year and be able to coach them up and make sure everything is booked accordingly so they don't have this a reactive approach of getting everything cleaned up in preparation for the audit.
Jake, what system did they use, out of curiosity?
So they're in Wolfpack currently, and that's actually one of the issues, that they're in a system that is probably not tailored to their needs. They ended up in Wolfpack historically for some inventory reasons. Now we're looking at putting them in QuickBooks Online, which is one of our technology partners. Much more efficient system, allows us to have remote access, to be able to help get into their books, which is one of the problems right now with Wolfpack, that we can't access their records very easily. So putting them into QuickBooks Online gives us the access that we need to be able to get in there and help them much more efficiently.
Yeah, that's great. I think they would really benefit from that. I think I've heard you talk about that previously. Now that I think about that, yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, and having experience as a controller, it allows us to come in, and they have boots on the ground that are going to be handling some of the day-to-day transactions. So I think when people think outsourced accounting, it's, hey, maybe I don't want to give you guys the full day-to-day operation of my books because I have some employees here, but I need some help at a higher level, somebody that can offer some review services or some coaching, some workflow support. And that's more the nature of what we're going to be doing for them going forward, because they do have the capacity to handle some of the day-to-day transactions. So my role is going to be coming in on a monthly basis, assisting them with their month-end close, assisting them with the reconciliations, and being there as an as-needed consultant on any of the other higher-level accounting questions that they have.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've got something. It's similar in that way, but it's also unique. As I guess, looking back now, it's probably 2018, about the same time we were looking to brand our outsourced accounting group. There's a movie theater chain here in Texas that was a tax client of the firm, a longtime tax client of the firm, through the actual owner, who was just a entrepreneur over the years and decided to get into the movie theater business, and had done really well with two locations, and was on a path to start building about 2 to 3 a year. And they came to us and they said, hey, we've got a new CFO that we're hiring. Our reporting is a mess. We can never get things on time. The transactions, we just never know if it's the integrity of it entered correctly and properly classified is just hard to trust. And we've really just not had a good client experience on their end. And so they came to us and they said, hey, is this something you guys can help with? And it was I still remember this conversation. It was, we really laid out all the pain points. It was like going to a doctor's office. It was like, well, this is where it hurts. This is where it hurts. And we were able to come up with a scope that really fit them. What they're solving for is really, let's get all our transactional entries as automated as possible. Let's get our accounts payable as automated as possible. And let's get our month-end closes as swift and quick as possible. And we really spent probably the first 3 or 4 months, if not longer, really cleaning up the prior bookkeepers' errors and classification, and then entries were all wrong and all kinds of stuff. And what we learned through the process was what not to do. And we came up with processes, we came up with workflows, and we really worked with them to build out the accounting department for them. And the accounting department really consisted of a couple of people and a CFO at their level, rather than an accounting staff of 8 or 10 to serve all their needs. And then we did everything else. So we were truly able to sit down, document processes, come up with how we're going to get the accounting done in a timely fashion, accuracy, and all that good stuff. So it turned out to be one of probably the most successful clients that we've had. Of course, COVID played a big role in their success last year, but they've really innovated, they've really pivoted, and they're looking to get out of this whole COVID effect stronger than ever. But that just goes to show you, it's, we looked at, rather than, oh my God, there's all this work from 7 theaters, we really broke that down into each theater. And what we discovered was it was just like any other small business that we would service. So what, it was a movie theater, and it could have just been easily a restaurant, or it could have easily been, an architect office or a law office, or whatever you may want to consider there. And we really said, well, it's just like any other small businesses. What are their needs? How can we help them? Where are they trying to go to? They were looking to open more theaters, and they had a plan for financing. They had a plan for investor reporting, things like that. And we really helped grow with them, and we still continue to. We've got a great relationship with them, and we really locked arms and helped them through the PPP process, helped them through SBA loans, things like that, just to do our part. Because like what Jake, you said, is we're almost the controllers of this client, and we work closely with the CFO that's there, and the owner as well. So it's been a great ride, and along the process too, we've looked at some different technologies that we can help them with. And one of the things I did not mention earlier was a huge part of our growth of WP Edge has been really around accounting systems, implementation, design, and our technology stack that we have adopted for most of our clients is really QuickBooks Online, Bill.com. We use outside payroll, or we can use Intuit Payroll. We use T-Sheets. We use a reporting tool called Fathom, and we use other ancillary tools like Receipt Bank for receipt automation, expense entries, things like that. And then we also, for mid-market clients, we use a tool or an ERP system called Sage Intacct. And Tim's kind of and Jake for that matter too. Tim really started that several years ago. And he started to really work towards scaling that up for WP Edge. And with that said, Tim, I'd love to hear your client success story around that.
Sure. And I want to add one to the end of your story, just because it ties in to what we're about to talk about with tools. Is, one of the things that we looked at with our theater group was there were simple things that they had not done yet with regards to accessibility tools. Namely, they were still on a desktop QuickBooks, which is something that we've kind of migrated away from, and you went to an online version of that, as well as Bill.com. Being able to tie those two together, it created a much more nimble environment, and where we were able to work with their CFO much easier than the previous group had been working with them. And we were able to, all those processes that we talked about documenting, they were done by just using tools that we were super familiar with, and getting them to get on board. And that's been a great success. So one of the areas as we segued into there was Sage Intacct, and we're super excited about that platform and what we're able to do at a mid-market level, really from a small business up to the mid-market level. And that tool, we had a global logistics company come to us late last year, and actually Jake and I got to work on this together. It was really nice to get to work with him. It was one of the first big projects we got to work on together, and they basically came to us with they were doing a startup global logistics supply chain management, and which that was a mouthful in and of itself. as we got to learning about. So Jake and I did a lot of little research and conversations with them, learning what they were doing as a business, and soon. The conversations developed such that it was easy to realize that they're going to need a better system than, say, a QuickBooks or something. They needed something a little bit more robust and it had an open API to it. And so Sage Intacct fit that bill really well. And so we were able to design first we sat and designed the system. Hey, what are you guys going to look like, and what do you want your reporting to look like, and how are you going to be doing this, and how many departments and entities, et cetera. And being able to really design a neat platform from them, a foundation for them, which we have since built into it's basically become an intake center for their ancillary operating systems that they use to process their as again, they're tracking global orders, and so global things moving around the world. And so they have these other systems that actually facilitate those relationships that they have with customers and carriers and moving stuff about. And those systems integrate into Intacct very, very well. And we're able to get, real-time reporting, provide them real-time reporting and dashboards and in addition to budget variance reporting that the management is using. They use on a day-to-day basis as they're managing the company. So that was a fun success story. And we're using the same kind of tools that we've been using Bill.com to help manage their AP. And that's been a super success as far as being able to, they're building credibility. They're a startup. And so they needed their carriers to when as they came in to get paid quickly and to be communicated with, and then we needed documentation to be bandied about and organized in such a way that we could both build a customer and document the stuff that we're doing with the carrier. And so we were able to do that. And frankly, in how long has it been, Jake? 4 or 5 months, less than 6 months, right? We've been able to not only set up that platform for them and that foundation, but get those ancillary systems married in and get the full rollout of the system such that all of this streamlined virtual accounting system, virtual accounting department has been set up. And I mean, and it was all during the middle of COVID. And so Jake and I have never met them physically. We've done this in a completely virtual world, and it was a really neat project to get to work on.
Yeah, and I think in a perfect world, if you're going to create an accounting system from scratch, it's awesome to be able to start like that and say, "Hey, business owners, hey, business management, what do you guys need? What are you looking for from a reporting standpoint, from a financial metric standpoint? What do you need to make the decisions to run your company?" Figure that out at the front end of the project, and then figure out the accounting system and how to get there and how to create the chart of accounts and how to draw everything up to get to the reports that they need and the metrics that they need to be able to make those decisions. Yeah, it's been a pretty fun project to be on. I think, Tim, you and I worked on it for 2 or 3 months before we ever even met.
Yeah.
So just kind of a sign of the times, and definitely a project that is indicative of 2020 and everybody's work style for sure.
Yeah, and it's just examples of, right, like we can serve in this space, startups like the client that Tim's mentioning. I mean, I remember taking that call the first time. It was like, hey, we're doing a startup, we're forming a logistics company, and it's just me and this other guy. And we looked at it, it was like, all right, well, we're in, let's go, what do we want to do? And then turns out that with their aspirations and entrepreneurial spirit, I mean, they've got a formula. They know what they want it done, and there's just 2 entrepreneurs that have done this before, and they're looking to do it again. And it's been a fun ride so far. And we have clients like what Jake mentioned that has been a generational business for many years and came to us, and they were really looking to solve for certain things, certain pain points. And then we had the Klein, the movie theater chain that I mentioned, and it's such a wide variety of industries that we can serve, and what it always comes down to, what we notice is we do a really good job of listening. We do a really good job of problem solving. We really do a good job of partnering and what we call just whiteboarding the client's pain points, and to, once you are able to visualize, once you're able to articulate, and we do a good job of listening, I think it really grows from there as a wonderful partnership. I think clients that we have clients that come to us with just, hey, just do our payroll, or hey, just to do our accounts payable, or hey, I've got a bookkeeper, at the office that can do some of this stuff, but I really need somebody to train her or look over her shoulder. So it's a wide variety of what we serve. But more and more over the last few years has been a huge push towards outsourcing, and business owners realizing that they need to focus on their strengths and outsource things that it's not something that they should be putting their time to. Their time and their hours are exponential in the value that it creates, and accounting is not an exponential value for owners. It really is a necessity to maintain and to get the right data so they can make decisions to exponentially continue to grow. And I think there's been a huge shift in realization with a lot of entrepreneurs, and we continue to serve those folks, and even our internal department referrals, like through tax or other service lines. It's been a huge inflow of opportunities, because it's clients like that always looked at Whitley Penn as, well, they're just going to give us good tax advice. They're going to get our tax returns done. And then now they realizing, oh, wow, okay, this is something that they can really help me with, whether I'm opening up a new division, whether I'm looking to come up with a new compensation plan for my partners, or, just implementing a new accounting system, right? So it's really, we're most of the time a conversation starter. And it's fun how we get to untangle the client's symptoms of pain, and we're able to help them solve their problems. So no, this is fun stuff. We really, really love what we do, and we love being in that seat with the client. So thank you for listening to our first episode of WP Edge podcast series. We'd love for you to tune in for upcoming episodes as we provide tools, tips, and tricks, and discuss more client stories, and continue to dive deeper into the world of outsourced accounting. We appreciate you all for listening, and see you all soon.